Do you ever wonder how great leaders in the community make things happen? When they encounter new, unexpected challenges like a pandemic, how do they continue to successfully make an impact? Welcome to That Sounds Terrific, the podcast that connects you with these amazing people. Get insights on what they do to meet their goals, find out how you can help them in their mission, and learn their methods so you can be more successful at what you do. Welcome to That Sounds Terrific with host Nick Koziel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Joining me today is Chris Porpiglia. I'm so excited to have you kind of back on the show. Welcome back, Chris.
Great to be here, Nick. We threw a difficult Italian pronunciation at you on today. We're recording on St. Patrick's Day. So nice work. We're off to a great start.
Yes, I should have put a little Irish into the name, right? But
right.
So just to explain to the audience, Chris and I had joined each other for a great recording. We talked about some interesting things and terrific things that you're doing, and then we had a career change, so we wanted to re-record to kind of make it a little bit more current.
A refresh. Great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. And Chris, you've been really great to me as an impact as a networker, and introducing me some interesting people. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and your career so far and what you've been working on?
Sure. So thanks again, Nick. So I'm a financial advisor by, I guess, career. I've been doing that for the better part of 15 years now, all throughout Western New York. I actually live in the Rochester area, and I grew up in the Buffalo area in Chautauqua County. And now I'm everywhere in between. And I never planned on becoming a financial advisor. It just sort of happened out of a love of meeting interesting people and helping them solve problems. From an educational background, I was always into sort of the quantitative side of things, math and science and data and analytics. And before your audience falls asleep, I didn't want to end up, behind in a lab somewhere. And so I found something that gets me in front of a lot of people, and it's a place where I think I'm really able to make an impact in people's lives and in the community at large, which you and I have talked about a bit to this point, and excited to get more into it this morning.
Yeah, for sure. And what I like about you is that we do run into each other from time to time, like kind of out of the blue, and we both are like, "Oh, it's Nick,"
Yeah.
but you're always so engaging, and it's about like the connection first, the networking first, so many, especially during the pandemic, so many financial advisors would reach out to me and say, "Hey, I can help you with your portfolio." And like, not even, "Hello, my name
what's
is
your
so-and-so,"
name?
right?
Yeah.
So it's refreshing. And I know that you do other things in the community to make an impact as well. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about your work, kind of like the thing that makes you unique as a wealth manager?
Well, I mean, I think when you talk about work, and I think the reason that I do what I do is that I don't know that I separate it from community and from nonprofit involvement and from just general networking and connecting people. I mean, my job is to meet interesting people and help them solve problems. And part of meeting interesting people, sometimes it has nothing to do with finance, and sometimes those problems don't have anything to do with sort of my day job. And as I'm moving around throughout Rochester, throughout Buffalo, throughout Western New York, there's unique opportunities to connect people in different ways. You've heard me say it before, and it always seems a little sappy, but this sort of give first mantra. If you help people, those things come back around. I mean, I'm in no position to meet somebody out of the blue and say, "Hey, my name's Chris, and we've known each other for 10 minutes. I'm gonna reallocate your portfolio, and it's gonna be better for you." How would I know that?
Right.
Those things sort of take care of themselves. In being in the position of meeting people, and I've worked with a lot of nonprofits in my career, and I know you and I have talked about that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It also, so while I'm quote unquote working, I'm finding opportunities of where I can sort of allocate my time personally and get involved with my family and pull my friends in and sort of participate in events and sort of pick my spots on how I can use my time most effectively for the community, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think of like, so in the digital age, and, going back to like even the pandemic where everything was sort of like, changing the way we engage, right? But the fundamental principles of engagement and connection still remain the same. And I think there has been some, forgetfulness in certain industries regarding that. Like money is a very private kind of situation for a lot of different people, whether you have a lot or you have just a little. People are going to open up to somebody in a 10-second conversation about like, their life savings or what they're planning to do with their, funds and things like that. It just, it doesn't happen like that. And I don't know why so many people expect it to,
Right.
and it just,
Right.
that part seemed to increase
Yep.
when we were, only remote, and
Right.
then there is still this forgetfulness, I think, around that too, because I've been at a couple in-person meetings now and, introduced to, various industries, not just wealth, but like,
Right.
it goes beyond that. What do you do? Oh, well, I do this and I can help you with that. Right.
Right.
Um, so again, I really
Well,
appreciate your approach to things.
I think what you're saying, and it's the old Maya Angelou thing. People don't remember what you told them. They're not gonna remember what you told them, but they always remember how you made them feel. And
Mhm.
when it comes to people's relationship with money, and this probably goes, I know it goes beyond money, but when people are uncomfortable, they make bad decisions. And we can avoid that by sort of talking more and being comfortable, creating an environment of trust and understanding. There's a lot of things that are sort of overcomplicated or black box like when it comes to finances and investing, and they don't have to be. And that's sort of an area of opportunity. Again, why I think I've been successful in helping people and just finding other people resources. If it's not me, that's okay. I mean, you also know I use a lot of sports analogies,
Yep.
and being a wealth advisor is a lot like being a point guard in basketball. My job is to distribute the ball. Who can help with what? I'm very much a generalist as a person, and career wise. I know a little bit about a lot of different things.
Mm.
And that's exciting to me, and
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to add more, know a little bit about even more things, because that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of from the same cloth in that regard because, I do like making those connections and learning. So, kind of not funny or surprising that I've swung back into the higher ed realm because there's just so many opportunities to learn there, right? But,
Sure.
you know, going back to the sports analogies, I'm about to take over some coaching responsibilities for my son's hockey, and it's I like to teach, and I like for our kids to like learn from everything. You always should be learning from a loss, learning from a win. There really is no real losing if you learn from those mistakes that were made, and that you'd make changes to kind of improve your team and in your game in the future. And the same thing goes for like, wealth management and everything that we do. We need to be learning from our tumbles and building upon those things to kind of prevent bigger falls in the future, or the same pitfalls, right? um so I do want to kind of also circle back. You talked a little bit about some of the nonprofits that you helped, and I know that was a concentration of yours in the past. Like, so can you talk a little bit about that, and maybe how you've helped nonprofits in the past?
Sure. So I guess it goes back to, we'll say, maybe 3 4 years ago. I had been taking opportunities to sort of volunteer a lot through work, and the office would say, we're participating in the day of caring, you can take the day off to help the United Way. And it's like, great, I'll do that, awesome. Or we're going to sponsor a classroom in inner city, in this case it was Rochester, through Junior Achievement, and we're going to teach sort of finance, economics, business to kids. And it was great, I'll do that. And it got to a point where I realized, like, I have something to give as far as some level of experience, or maybe just enthusiasm, if nothing else, where I can do things a little more formally and a little more impactfully I don't know how to do it. And then sort of this pandemic hit, and then I know you and your guests have talked, everybody got their pandemic, their COVID story. For me, I had just been accepted into Leadership Buffalo, the 2020 class, 2020 class, and everything went virtual, and that's terrible. And overall, fine. It's probably a net negative beyond the normal experience. But I'm an optimist. I'm a glass half full guy. So I was sitting in at that point, I think my office was in my bedroom. And I was meeting dozens, if not hundreds of people in these meetings and these day sessions, when otherwise I would have just been stuck, by myself, me and my wife and the dog and the kid. So it was kind of great to be exposed. Leadership Buffalo, expanding on that. I know you're familiar with the group, but it's a
Yep. 18 great team, best class ever.
Well, I don't know about that. You have some edit software, I'd say, 2020.
Maybe.
But it was exposure to a lot of different groups doing a lot of different things in different areas, and maybe to some degree a little overwhelming, but it helped me to kind of hone my focus on education. And that dovetailed right into an opportunity I had to get involved with a new charter school starting on the east side of Buffalo. And so I spent a couple of years as part of their board. So BRIC, Building Responsible, Intelligent, and Creative Kids. They're hoping to open the doors this fall on the east side of Buffalo. So that was an awesome experience. And I've gotten more formally involved with Junior Achievement of Western New York, and I've remained involved with Junior Achievement of Central New York. There's a great organization in Rochester called the Education and Success Foundation, doing a lot of great things. So I've sort of, again, kind of honed in there and just finding ways to spend my time. And you naturally end up meeting people, and you end up sort of doing networking, and it's not for business purposes, but that's where that sort of give first, that stuff takes care of itself, I believe, if you're doing the right thing, and it ends up making a positive impact.
Can you share a little story about how maybe there was an unexpected connection that you found very uplifting, either for yourself or an organization, for the person, just something like that was a random meeting, and then all of a sudden it grew into something that you never expected? I feel like you have probably 1,000 of those stories.
Yeah, I try to limit myself to not sort of ramble too much, but I mean, like, sort of the start of that, like, one of the things that, again, you've heard me say before, but I just think it sort of works to describe sort of my view on things and how things work, is oftentimes in social situations, my wife is a mental health therapist. She works in an inner city setting and does fantastic and very needed work, for the community in that space. And so we'll meet people, at a party, and they'll say, "Oh, Caitlin, you love helping people, and Chris, you love money." I'm like, ha. It's like, okay, I get it, but at some level, I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, yes, but I do what I do because it also helps people. And I think of just being introduced to a nonprofit in the Buffalo area through Leadership Buffalo. And, it developed into sort of a personal sort of, helping out, donation wise and helping the organization, and also sort of a business opportunity to potentially help them manage their assets and manage their endowment. And I guess the third leg, a friendship to someone that, I now consider a friend. And seeing this person, oftentimes the feedback is like, wow, Chris, no one's ever sort of explained things to me that way before. That's really great. And I really appreciate it. And it's not someone that's a client. There's no sort of money involved, but that's why I do what I do. You bring all those things together, you make great friends, you help people who really need it, and you sort of you build on that, and it grows.
That's great, man. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It's all about, being a friend, and it's all about the growth, because those connections also come through those types of avenues as well. So like, you might get some clients, right? Just because, if I know this guy that can help you out, or, you might get more people to help with Brick and your initiative out and with the school and stuff. So I think, I love your approach. I think it's, there's not enough of Chris's in the world that kind of think about people first.
That's high praise. I appreciate that. I don't
Yeah.
know. My wife may debate you.
Well, I haven't met her
but
yet. I haven't had the pleasure. So, it might be an interesting interaction. She'll be like, my husband? Wait, Chris? You sure you're talking about the right Chris? I'm like, so I think that's terrific, man. So, speaking of, your client, and I know there's probably not an easy answer for this, because I think I know the answer, but just for the sake of our listeners, like, is there an ideal, client for you? Someone that you're looking in particular to help, that you have like maybe more of a passion for than your average client?
No, I know. Everyone's. This is one of these things, like, you're supposed to have an answer for this,
Yeah.
describe, who you work with perfectly, but I don't, and I just don't like to kind of limit things that way.
Right.
I hate to say, like, need to have a certain amount of assets, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, because that's why I love what I do, because every situation is different.
Right.
I've run the gamut of working. I work with a lot of individual people and families, and talking about saving for retirement, or how you invest your money once you're in retirement, and how you build strategies to mitigate taxes, and all kinds of things that I get really nerdy and excited about, and not a lot of other people do. But at the same time, I've done a lot of work with, we'll say, higher or very, the ultra high net worth, I guess is the designation. I've done a lot of work there too, and that involves a lot more coordination with other parties, like estate planning teams and CPAs, and a lot of other considerations go in there. And I love to, not many people wear a tie anymore. I'm not wearing a tie today, but I love to put on the suit and tie and go
Right.
into a boardroom of a bunch of lawyers or engineers, and have them fire away questions about their retirement plan and their portfolio that way. And those conversations tend to focus on a lot more sort of minute or complex details on how do you value a stock versus their industry versus the X, Y, Z, A, B, and it's all great. So yeah,
So
yeah. No is
Yeah.
the short answer. I don't
Well,
have it.
I kind of figured that, just based on, knowing you, and just the type of person you are. You're willing to kind of help anybody and everybody, and to keep it interesting for yourself. I think also, working with lots of different types of people from different
Yeah,
walks of life
I
is
will.
just
I guess I probably should say to the firm I work with, Wealth Enhancement Group, and our
yeah.
team, which is based out of Rochester. We've been around since the 1970s, so it's a 5-decade long sort of track record, and the people are of course different than they were 50 years ago. But one of the reasons that I work for the firm that I do is that because we have a disciplined, we have a large enough team that it's a team-based approach to everything. So I'm not the person picking stocks and bonds or mutual funds, because again, I'm a generalist. I get to know you and figure out where you might need help. The bulk of the work, or the smart people, sort of sit in the office, and it's a team of people executing an approach that's been in place, and it's been repeatable and disciplined for a number of years. So we certainly have the chops and the background and the resources to work with the gamut when it comes to investors and types.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I do appreciate about you, is you surround yourself with those types of people, and you kind of seek out people that, if you don't have an expertise in something, you've got a connection, right? You got someone that you can refer to. And going back to even your statement about, being the friend, being the networker, being that connector for other people, even if they're not a client, you're going to connect them with the right person. So, and that's always something to look for in pretty much every profession. But, when I think about coaches, and I think about wealth managers, and I think about, the people that are working with people about, like, a variety of different things, it's always great when you have someone who's willing to even refer people to, like, different wealth managers or different coaches that might be a better fit.
Definitely.
and I think that that is a true sign of someone that you want to work with.
Sure.
Because if Chris says you should only work with me and I'm the only one answer to your financial woes, that is a red
Right.
flag,
Right.
and
Right. Yep.
so
I
I
spent yeah,
appreciate that.
I spend a lot of time and I know I'm not the only one. I spend a lot of time talking with friends and family members and explaining to them why they should not be paying a financial advisor, me or anyone else. There's certain situations where you need help, and sometimes, or I should say, it's always really important to understand what you're paying for.
Right.
And again, that's more than just finances or wealth management. Understand the fees you're paying and what's the value you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, you just made me think of a car salesman.
Oh
Because
no! Oh
no, no, no,
no!
not you, but you
Oh
made me think of it in that situation, like
no!
because I'm actually looking at cars now again, because like I've got a Prius C that needs some tender love and care. But they talk up a lot about like asking for what's the sticker price, what's the overall price, not what do you want to pay for a month, and that's where they try to
Oh,
push you, right?
amazing!
Right, yeah, but
What
how
do
much
you
is, oh
want?
well, it's 255 a month. No, that's not what I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
So but I like reading between the lines of kind of like what you were saying is that like these hidden fees, how like certain wealth managers or businesses get paid, um you know in and of itself can be a menagerie of time
It's a
and
nightmare.
right.
It really is.
So
It really is. I mean, and it's not a user-friendly sort of industry, and even people who there's a very, very low barrier to entry to people saying, "I'm a financial advisor. This
right.
is what I do." Um, it means a lot of different things
Yeah.
to a lot of different people, and there's a whole alphabet soup of designations that go next to people's names on their business cards. I don't know what most of them mean. Um, some of them are, very well respected and take a lot of work and mean something. Someone who's a CPA or who is
Right.
a CFA, a chartered financial analyst. And those people have done a lot of homework. They're very intelligent, and they've done something. There's some barrier to
Yeah.
entry there. With planners, the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner designation, is becoming more and more prominent, which is a good thing. You don't know
Yeah.
anything about that person, their philosophy, but they've done something. There's some barrier to entry there, and they're held to some standard or some code of ethics,
Sure.
which is important.
Yeah, so on that line, a lot of people that are, maybe getting, I wouldn't say duped, but like the people that are at the most risk for a wealth manager of low caliber would be the ones that don't have a lot of financial literacy, right?
No.
So I think that that is something that I would love to hear. What are some tips and tricks for you, um, or to kind of tell people to look out for when considering a wealth manager?
So I'll start even more broad than that. Financial literacy, you're right on, but I think it goes sort of, higher level. What is the advice you wish you'd given to yourself,
Right.
25 years ago? And it's meet as many different people as you can, different backgrounds, different interests, and ask a lot of questions in any
Mhm.
situation, finance or otherwise. Financial literacy, great. I named some organizations, Junior Achievement being a big one that I'm passionate about, and I love to volunteer in, and for the goal of financial literacy. But even someone without formal sort of financial literacy, just ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You should be comfortable. You said earlier, money is, money's a very personal thing. It's a really big deal. Um, again, me, I'm sort of gregarious, and
Yeah.
I don't like to take myself too seriously, but when it comes to money, yeah, we take that very seriously, and you should. You should never
Mhm.
be uncomfortable in any situation, like signing up for anything, certainly when it has to do with your finances, or someone trying to sell you an insurance policy or an annuity,
Sure.
or just to move your investments from one place to the other. um, it's broad and maybe kind of boring. Just ask a lot of questions. You're getting more specific, and I've got enough questions that you're comfortable. And then after that, so the more specifics is understand the fees, understand who the magnitude of compensation and how people are getting paid, what are their motivations, understand alternatives, ask about, what that person does with their own money and what their different options are, ask what their educational background and experiences in doing this. Yeah, it's questions, and it's over and over, and don't feel pressured. There shouldn't be a pressure thing here. This is your money. It's a big deal. I know, Nick, you speak with a lot of entrepreneurs and business people, and they're doing great things in the community. They're not everybody, or I say most people will not start a business or build a podcast empire like yourself, but everybody's going to be affected by money, by saving, by investing. So be comfortable with it. You don't have to know all the specifics and understand every little gear and cog and how the pieces are moving. You never have to turn on CNN or watch a stock chart or a ticker you shouldn't have to, but you should know who is, performing that function on your behalf, and what are you paying for it, and broadly speaking, some alternatives.
Yeah, no, all great advice, all great points. I really appreciate that. I think the listeners need to understand that, and it seems like it's a little bit of common sense stuff, but again, when it comes to money, people just kind of get a little nutty, and either they think too much or they don't think enough, and it's hard to kind of be in the middle, right? And so I think I appreciate, I know I appreciate, and that the audience will appreciate that advice. And, we're kind of at the point. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, it's not to belabor the point, but it's behavioral. We're human beings, and the unknown is scary. And everybody follows the stock market, but when red means bad. And when the stock market's crashing, everybody knows about it. And a lot of times, or almost all the time, when the stock market is crashing, it's because there's something that's unknown. Unknown is scary, and it's usually perceived badly. Yeah. So when you don't understand your own finances, it is scary, and it's human nature to run, to sell, to kind of clam up. And that's my job, and that's the job of any sort of relevant financial advisor. Save you from yourself.
Very nice. So, Chris, here's the part of the show where I asked that question of, is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share? I know you've been through that before. So is there anything that we've talked about this time that you don't?
No, we haven't gotten into the Buffalo Bills or free agency. We're recording on St. Patrick's Day. We could get into beers and whiskey favorites. But no, this is great, Nick. You know me, I could talk all day. So don't give me that kind of rope.
Oh boy.
No, this has been great. I really appreciate it, Nick. It's always fun to catch up with you and to talk. And yeah, I'm honored to be part of That Sounds Terrific.
Well, I can't think of any better way to end this one. So, Chris, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you being a guest, and thanks for all that you do to make a positive impact on the community.
Right back at you, my friend. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Don't forget to check out the show notes and our website at thatsoundsterrific.com to find the contact information and the best ways to volunteer with the organizations that we feature. If you know someone that is doing terrific things and think they should be featured in a future episode, be sure to email us their name, contact info, and short description of what they're doing at thatsoundsterrific@gmail.com. If you like our show, give us a 5-star rating and give us some social media love by liking our Facebook page, That Sounds Terrific. Follow us on Twitter at Sounds Terrific 2 and Instagram at Sounds Terrific. We love hearing your feedback on how to make our show sound even more terrific. Till next time.